it. It's her thing.
Yep. Hey, and we are live. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning in to the BAMF podcast. I am your host, Mike Lafferty. Hey, GWF promoter, we see you in the comments. Thanks for showing up, sir. I'll show your comment there.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
Hello, and great to have you here.
And I should introduce Dark Menace Tom, since the crowd is already chanting his name. It's Tom Pilsinger.
Right. The crowd. Thank you.
And directly over here is Christopher McLaughlin of Ghost Show Press. How you doing, Chris?
I am tonight's enhancement talent while the Dark Menace's ring hits the ring, and his music swells, his fan go nuts.
No,
I'm the guy who had to borrow a pair of boots before I came out.
Nobody can keep up with what Chris did last week. It was and that book sounds fantastic, and so
thank you.
We're all looking forward to that.
Thank you.
We can share that real fast since we're talking about it. If you missed us last week, and there's a lot of you joining from Tom's Twitter feed, so it's possible, Chris is going to be creating this transgressive horror. Chris, you want to give it a quick elevator pitch?
Yes. We live in a world where creators are being treated worse than your least favorite virus these days. And I got sick and bloody tired of it, so I went off and formed my own publishing label, Ghost Show Press, to do something crazy, and that's let writers write. So I'm gambling on all of you folks liking the idea of letting creators create. And if you like letting creators create, here you go. I rounded up the best creators in the business to all give me the answer to the following question. What is your favorite horror film that breaks the rules, that does something that nothing else in that genre or subgenre did before? And I got some fantastic results. You know, I have Ken Hite of Ken and Robin talking about stuff. Well, this time the stuff he's talking about is the classic film The Uninvited. Okay, the Ravenloft legend Jim Lauder is talking about Witchfinder General. And frankly, if that isn't enough to sell you the book, I'm going to have to stick a candy bar to every single copy to get you to buy it. Because seriously, Jim Lauder writing about Witchfinder General, and our own Cynthia Celeste Miller is tackling Black Christmas with the joy and insight that only she could bring to a movie about a murderous Santa Claus. And you can follow that link, and you can find some details about the project and the creators. And we will be talking more about it on our launch day of April 27th. See, you can sign up right there and be notified on April 27th when this beauty goes live. And you can get yourself the best book you're going to read all year long, and keep alive the dying notion that writers ought to be allowed to write.
All right. And if you want to hear a much more emphatic sales pitch, check out Chris last week, where he tore the roof off and burned the barn down.
I cut that out of the last show. That video is going to go live with the Kickstarter for those who missed my tribute to the Grand Wizard and Jim Cornette and Lou Albano and Bobby Heenan and their ilk.
There you go.
Well, hey, Mr. Tom, do we have a larger graphic, or should we?
I just sent you an email. I'm hoping, and I'll set it up right now while you're looking.
Okay.
We, of course, always put out a new release every July for Champions of the Galaxy. This one will be number 51. You know, we're at a point where we stopped counting, but yeah, and I'm always wanting to do something different and new when possible. And I'll tell you, this was influenced by being inside all the time and vinyl. I've rediscovered vinyl this past year. I rediscovered how much I love getting an album and putting it on a turntable and listening to it the way it was supposed to be done. And but then so I started to send away for some stuff, and then some of them would offer bonus material, and I thought, bonus material, yeah, what an idea. And so what I'm doing is releasing our new game set this summer. Will come with a special deluxe pack of bonus material you can buy separately. I hope that graphic works better than the last one I sent you.
A bit.
Yeah, I've got a good clear one somewhere. But as you see here, The next set's called Origins 2137. 2137 is our game year. We started in 2086. What's getting me is the closer we get to the beginning of everything I wrote about, reality is crowding my vision. There's a huge galactic war coming up in 2058. I hope everybody's ready for it. We're getting there.
I burned my draft card. You can't find me.
I've been saving beef jerky.
So we're up to 2137. We've got a new concept. We're exploring the past of Champions of the Galaxy with Origins. And it's a story arc that we're going to be midway through. And we're going to really celebrate it by releasing some really cool, fun stuff. I think a game fan, if they're getting this new game, is going to be like, oh, awesome. I'm getting A, B, C, and D with it too. And I won't say what those are yet because the teaser season is just beginning and it's early. It's April. So I'm just letting everybody know that there's great surprises in store this time we've never seen before. And that's my announcement about that. You know what? I would like to ask Chris something though too, and
Sure.
Mike too, and Cindy if she gets here. What is the appropriate sneak preview? In other words, whether it's a game or something else, but let's say a game right now.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you give up in advance? How much do you tease? Do you say everything or do you say very little? And, there's people who weigh in on both sides, and I've been navigating that now for 30 years. But what do you guys think? Is it good to hear a lot, or do you like surprises?
Well, Tom, you are in a different position than most creators in that you have a huge and loyal following. I would say you could get away with just giving away a few images. I mean, and people are going to line up because they're Champions of the Galaxy fans. They're going to want more. When I am doing new stuff at my little RPG publishing, usually I'll release a short adventure, maybe 15, 20 pages with a couple of, stat blocks. Chris, what do you think?
Well, now that I am officially out of the gaming industry and I can be a neutral observer, and even though Tom and I are long and dear time friends, here we go. I'm going to put my professor hat on. Okay, here we go. I'm now a cold-blooded academic. I can tell you from firsthand observation that nothing sells anything Champions of the Galaxy related better than the game itself. I remember walking the floor at Origins, and your table would be overrun with two things: people there to look at Terry Reynolds and people there to play your game. So think about this. You have a fictional world constructed of cardboard, and it's at least as interesting as Terry Reynolds.
Okay.
I could need CPR. I could be gasping for breath. I could be begging for my life. And people are going to be looking at Terry Reynolds, and I won't blame them. My dying breath is, I totally get it.
Yeah.
So yes. And the hot thing today is there you go. Okay, there you go. The fans are speaking. The thing these days is for young and pretty people to play the game online and let people watch them. And while I cannot help you with the young and pretty part, seriously, if you've ever thought about just saying, "Hey, folks, we're gonna be on Twitch and we're gonna be playing Champions of the Galaxy, and here's the URL. Spread it to your friends. Kidnap their families, force them to watch." That may be a little extreme, but I'm spitballing right now.
It's an old adage that actual play sells games. I mean, art's great, previews are great, but if you can show people having fun playing your thing, that's powerful.
That's where the conventions were great. And Chris is right. There's nothing like playing with people at the actual sites and, enjoying the drama live. I'm not so much talking about this as a marketing issue.
Is that Terry Reynolds?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
We don't have a game.
Yes. If you Google out of McGee's league, that's the first thing that pops up.
So anyway, what I was going to quickly add is I'm not looking at it from a marketing thing, although that's part of it. I'm looking at it for enjoyment. In other words, what if you've got a big theme is it good to know the big theme? Like, let's say a Marvel story arc is coming up and they're going to try to entice you with it, like Secret Wars was. Do you tell everybody that, or do you just put out the first issue and have them read it as they go along? And I've always thought you've got to balance out those two things. You want to have some surprises. You got to have some left over, I think. But you want to have some stuff that whets a person's appetite too, that gets them excited. Says, "Oh my God, so and so's coming back," or "Oh my God, this is going to happen." So anyway, I've always tried to walk both paths throughout my career.
I think if you can, a good hook. Someone got me back into Marvel Cosmic about 20 years ago. They handed me a Guardians of the Galaxy book and said, "It's Dirty Dozen in space." It was the Dan Abnett stuff, and that sentence was all I needed, and I was in for the whole event. So.
Yeah. No, that's cool, guys. I'm excited as always. It's never stopped being boring for me at all. In fact, I don't even know what I would do with myself if January, February, March, April came along and I wasn't writing a new set, So that's just a habit now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, and we're always going to try to make it new. Thank you for giving me the time to speak about that a little bit. And
one last thing I'm going to throw in is you have the Rolodex of my dreams. You could probably get some people for your live play online that would melt the internet, because I know you know people.
No, thank you. I need you to be working with us.
Well, I'm a public educator, so I don't come cheap.
Of course not. That's right. I know a little bit about that too. Yeah.
Red Lobster coupon. I'm in.
Let me drop one more thing here while I'm at it. We have got some outstanding artists. Both of you know them. Werner is unbelievable doing our real wrestler art for indie and legends. Daryl Banks works with me on Champions. Two great artists. I'm going to introduce another one, a new artist coming up also. Okay. Because we're so busy, we're releasing so much stuff. It's asking a lot of Werner and Daryl to do everything. So we're gonna in this set we'll also be introducing some new art too. Okay. A new artist.
Is there any art previews we can give people a sneak peek of, or is that TBD?
Not yet. That starts the art previews start at around June for our July release.
Okay, cool. You have an online game.
Yeah.
I didn't know about that. How's that going for you guys?
Oh, good. We developed that at least 10 years ago. It's basically an online sim. It's our game. In fact, we just had a virtual tournament today, and a virtual convention, which I spoke at earlier. And then I introduced that slide I showed you, and just continuing on with that today.
Okay. How was that?
Oh, it's always great. People play, and again, they use the online version when they play. They have tournaments. And so we just released a new set. Mm-hmm. There's a tournament. People will play all the characters in the set, and somebody will win it and get a prize. And we do these conventions now every few months. It's kind of like we've got our WrestleMania. That's Galacticon every July when I release my new set, and we have a party together when we can be together. And we're going to try to be together this year too. July, what I've heard today is the plan is, I forgot where, and that will be announced soon, but we are planning to be live again in July, which is very exciting.
Oh, wow. Okay. That is news, because nothing's been live for over a year now. So,
well, now you can do it both ways. You can give people the option. You got to open up sometime. And so, the people who are ready to go live will go live. The people who would prefer to not take a chance this early, I don't know if July is considered early, but they don't have to go then. And but we will be having our convention both ways this summer. It's sounding like to me. So I'm excited, and I hope our fans are too.
Oh, it's really hopeful to hear things are getting back to normal. That's very good news.
I think so too.
All right, cool. Just sharing some of the previews I found on your website there. So.
Yeah, these were just released. We are we released as black and white way
Mhm.
back starting in 86. And we did black and white to around 2005. I don't remember the exact year. So now we are going back and colorizing all the Champions of the Galaxy stuff that was black and white.
Mm.
And so, yeah, so we're up to game year 2093, I believe now. 2091. No, boy, look at how I get, I get all confused myself. But this is some of those remakes. What you've got here is, of course, us announcing two things simultaneously. One is Champions of the Galaxy characters, and the other is, of course, Legends of Wrestling. You see Johnny Valiant there.
Mhm.
And Johnny Valiant was a great guy. You know what? It's just another guy that will be missed. He worked with us a lot when we were just getting Legends created in the first place. But anyway, so you see those are our latest releases. They're both real and Champions.
Excellent. Well, appreciate you, sharing some new stuff on the podcast. That's really cool. And please feel free to talk about more Champions of the Galaxy whenever you want. I'd love to have that content on here. So, thank you.
No, that's great. And I don't know if we've got any of our fans out there now. If anybody has any comment or question, feel free to share it, and then we will go on with our topics of the day.
Yeah, it's such a fabulously fun game. It's a game legitimately more people should know about. I mean, it's the amount of fun that you can have not knowing anything about wrestling. That's the thing that impresses me. And for somebody who's hooked on it for many years like me, it's beyond description how wonderful that game can be.
No, thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. I've had that when we play live. Sometimes people will, because it moves fast, you can get kind of hooked on it, even if you don't necessarily like wrestling a lot, but you like the character. And so you want to see how it ends. You know what? When I'll tell you something outrageous I did with the game when I was in grad school. When I was in grad school in the old days, and so this is all grad students. This is not gamers. This is grad students now. And they were curious. They said, "What's your game all about?" And so it was the early stages. It was the first set. And so I showed it to them, and they were interested in things like tarot cards, and they were interested in the I Ching and fortune telling, just for the fun of it, just one of those wild and crazy weekends you have when you're young and it doesn't have to make sense. And I said, well, my game is a fortune telling device too. They said, really? And I did. I played it that way. I laid out the characters. I said, imagine. I love Chris. Yes. Imagine an issue in your life, like a bad relationship or a work question. Now, take some character here just by looking at them. You don't even know them. And that represents the positive side of your issue. And then look at one that could be the negative side. So it's Star Warrior and the Mutant, let's say. And I'd play the match, and I'd do it like a tarot thing, like, well, Star Warrior's been winning the early part. That means that your relationship had a good start. And I'd make it into a story, and by the end of it, they're on the edge of their seat because they want to know, oh my God, I want my person to win, just like you want the tarot cards to come up good, And I would read it in a positive way. I wound up reading like a fortune teller, trying to make it positive the outcome, even if they lost somehow,
Oh God,
that's a new marketing ploy,
I could get totally hooked on this here. And your fake card is Nature Boy Ric Flair. Don't get on that plane. Don't fly home. Take a train home. That's what the card's telling you, man.
Yeah. Oh man.
Oh my, that's all right. I got nothing to top that there without blatantly lying. So you're gonna give me a minute to come up with a complete fib about what I'm doing.
There's nothing like good lies. Yeah, good lies. The famous people in history have been the best liars.
I heard that in some detail about Freud a few years back.
Well, there's a lot of controversy around Freud. I'm a Freud fan. But I also can understand that they said that he might have fudged some of the stuff he talked about back in the old days. And
yeah, I had a therapist friend who was kind of beef with Sigmund about that very issue. Thought maybe he might have exaggerated, and he didn't let the facts get in the way of a good story or a good narrative, as it were.
Well, right. I mean, one of the stories was that he said that some sexual traumas were unconscious and but that people make them up, and the idea is that maybe they weren't made up, that we were covering for people that were actually committing some sexual crimes, instead of thinking that the person has imagined it, that it was actually real. Things like that have been controversy. Is that what you heard, Mike?
Yeah. This is a few years back, but basically, Freud was a very charismatic personality, very charismatic writer, and his personality and his thoughts wound up, dominating the field of psychoanalysis for years, even when a lot of it wasn't necessarily reproducible.
Right.
So that was his idea. I wanted to share this channel, just switching back to gaming. This is GWF Promoter, who's in our comments, and looks like he's got a cool channel with a lot of people who are spend a lot of time talking about your games, Tom. So
yeah. I mean, it's great people, definitely.
Wow.
Okay, cool. So what were we talking about today, other than games? Do you guys? I don't remember us having a subject. Do you?
Hey, Chris. Hey, I've got a suggestion then. How about we're called Wrestling with Comics? Let's talk about wrestling comics and what we.
Wow. Oh, I'm having traumatic flashbacks to the early '90s WCW comic, which even the people who were in it seem to be embarrassed about.
I don't think I read that one. I don't think I
Chris.
saw that one.
Oh my gosh, it's pretty typical for what happens when you hand a wrestling project off to people that have no idea.
Yeah.
People, well, it may have aged better than I remember it, because it was a bunch of comic book freelancers having to write wrestling stories. Mm-hmm. So I guess maybe if I came back to it looking for the comics and not so much the wrestling, it might not be quite the disappointment that it was. But yeah, but they couldn't get the voices right, because it had to be so expository, for the sake of people that weren't following wrestling. Because like every line was like, "Hey, it's Paulie Dangerously, manager of the Dangerous Alliance, my arch enemy." Just in case somebody missed the previous issue. So yeah, it didn't last long. Nor did it deserve to.
There's different branches of that, because what's interesting is I in fact I purchased this. There was a comic book from the Silver Age when Superman had a match with Argentina Rocca.
Oh,
did you ever see that one? Did you ever see that?
I saw him where he teamed up with President Kennedy. I would rather have gone with Rocca, but I missed that.
Well, you know what? I stumbled onto that at a comic book store, and I got it for only a few dollars, because the cover's got Argentina Rocca throwing Superman out of the ring. This isn't. Oh, there's that.
So many mullets. Many mullets.
I never saw that one. I don't remember that.
Oh, Lord.
Hey, a lot of good stars on the cover, but yeah. But they didn't have the characters of the situations down, huh?
Only in the vaguest sense. Oh, and plus they were trying. This was right after Flair left, and even WCW didn't know what he wanted to do from week to week. And you can imagine how somebody that knew people that knew less about wrestling than the people who ran WCW at the time. Mm-hmm. It was not a success. Came out through Marvel, as I recall, though. So technically a Marvel comic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here we go, Rocca.
Just casually tossing Superman out of the ring.
Just wait till Muhammad Ali gets his gloves on you, pal. Then you really know what an ass whipping is.
Yeah, so you'd have there make appearances like that, but it's hard for wrestlers to carry a comic line. It's the same with rock stars. They try to do a rock star comic, and same problem. Often it's not done by a real fan. They don't draw the person really right. They don't have their history real accurate, and the story is just convoluted. There you go, Ali with Superman. Yeah. That was
You know-
famous. That was a famous
You know,
one. What is
one
that?
of-
Star Warriors? Is that what they got on the top of that? I don't like that. Star
well,
Warriors?
it was 78. What else were they going to call it?
All right. I won't sue them.
Yeah, one of the great joys of writing the history of Sentinel Comics was trying to figure out what would be like the funny knockoff version of what they would do. And Darren and I were sitting around a bar drinking one night at Gen Con, and we decided that like Sentinel would just miss on getting a deal with Muhammad Ali to do a Muhammad Ali crossover comic, but they felt really good because they got Leon Spinks.
Okay. Whoa.
And the book came out like 2 weeks after he dropped the title to Ali. With this completely unsellable comic.
Yeah.
And they were kind enough to let me that Neil Adams cover is famous for like all the great 1978 era celebrities that he manages to cameo in that. So for Sentinel Comics, I figured their version would be everybody that everybody that was left after that cover. So it's like, how many B and C list? Oh, who is that? Could I get for the Leon Spinks comic? So yeah, that's the kind of thing I loved writing, and I'm looking forward. I picked a great book to finish my writing for other people career on. That I'm looking forward to people seeing that.
Nice.
Thank you.
So let me ask you a stupid guy question: has there ever been a good wrestling comic? Because I got to tell you, I'm looking, and I can show you some covers. I found a bunch, but is there one you would say, yeah, this is one you got to read, and this is one you got to check out?
I didn't come prepared for this, unfortunately. I'm sure there are. There are some independent creators who aren't necessarily working with the major promotion who are doing some good stuff with their creations. And I just didn't come prepared to speak about that, but I've read them.
Okay.
Well, we've had people on the cast talking about their wrestling comics, and they were great stuff.
Yeah. There's good stuff.
Great wrestling comics are a new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember reading some reviews. WWF tried to do a comic a few years ago. Here, I got a title, and
Lord,
I just always remembered it because it kind of reminded me of a Wolverine comic.
All right. Oh, the big boss man.
And the Mountie.
Wow. Well, that's a battle we always wanted to see in the woods. That's good.
Well, I guess this is a while back. This is 1990s, judging by the date there in the right hand.
Yes.
Right back. Go on.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So Ray Traylor, the late great Ray Traylor, portrayed the Big Boss Man, and first got famous in the wrestling business playing the bodyguard of legendary wrestling manager Jim Cornette. And I went to see Cornette speak live at a wrestling convention, and somebody asked him for a Ray Traylor story. And he told this story about how back in the days when you were supposed to maintain strict kayfabe, pretend you must always act like this is real. No tipping the fans at any point that this is anything less than legit. Tell a story where Cornette, Ray Traylor, and Cornette's tag team, the Midnight Express, had just pulled up to the arena, had just gotten out of the car, and they got distracted by a bunch of fans who spotted them and pointed and go like, "Hey, there's Jim Cornette and Big Bubba and the Midnight Express." And the loud fans distracted Bubba, so he didn't realize that his finger was in the car door when they slammed it shut. And they say, and he's, like just boom, right on his finger. And he just stands there and doesn't do anything until the fans are out of sight. And Jim and the Midnight Express, they're like stunned. They can't believe this. And by the time the fans leave, like Bubba, are you okay? And he's like, and he starts swearing and crying. They open up the door and they go, why didn't you say anything when the door first closed? And he goes, because of Big Bubba Rogers, and Big Bubba Rogers don't sell nothing.
No. Yeah, not even a car door slamming on his finger. Hey, he's real. He's the real deal.
Oh my God! Oh, just I get slightly dizzy, and I'm done for the week. There you go. I got I got to call in sick to work. I can't even fathom a guy that barely flinches with a car door slamming on his.
Yeah. Well, if you've survived cage matches, maybe you can survive that. or being hit by a table or a chair.
It depends on who I'm in there with. If I'm in there with Hogan and he's raking my face across the cage and I'm like 6 inches away, I'm good. But you lock me up in there with the sheep herders and not the bushwhackers, the sheep herders.
Right, big difference.
Are you just making stuff up? Or are you just messing with you right now?
No, the Kiwi sheep herders were the most insanely violent tag teams ever.
Oh, yeah.
And their whole gimmick were 2 batshit guys from New Zealand. That's it. They were evil foreigners from New Zealand. They would hit you with the New Zealand flag. In fact, I partly passed elementary school geography. I could pick out the New Zealand flag thanks to the sheep herders. Everybody else in class couldn't tell them in Australia apart. But
Chris,
thanks.
I've got something good like that to show you how you really live. I was in a spelling bee when I was a kid, and I was terrible in school. I was terrible because I hated school. And I was one of those creative kids who was like, you're boring me. And but I got into a spelling bee and I won. Why? Because the word was kryptonite. And I'm like, I got that down. I got that. And I moved on.
Sure.
Oh, let me show you a comic book cover from our
Thank
own
you.
history.
Thank you, Sean.
Hey, Sean.
Here.
All right, let me blow you up there.
Champions of the Galaxy. This was done in the 1990s. It was an indie release by one of our fans named Ed Davis, and it was really awesome back then to see this because there was nobody doing anything like this, and one of our fans did it. And the interesting thing about it was it tells the history of Champions of the Galaxy, the heroes. And then it meets in the middle because the villain side starts upside down with the bat, and it meets in the middle in a big splash page. It was really nice that that this was done. It made our fans, it was just a super thing to do. And awesome. I've got myself a mint copy still over 20 years old.
Wonderful.
And you know what? When I worked with Brian Bendis, as you know, he was one of my artists for a long time. Wow. He was always. You didn't know that, Chris? You knew that, didn't you?
I for some reason it's not ringing a bell. But
that's okay. Before he became the Brian Michael Bendis, he was an indie writer and artist, as you might know. He was doing film noir crime stuff. I don't know if you know that. And so we knew each other. We were friends. He was drawing for me for years. And then he got that gig at Marvel to do what he was doing there. He was always telling me, Tom, we need to do a Champions of the Galaxy comic book. And I was like, absolutely. Yeah, I know. We'll do it eventually. And then I wish I did that with Brian Bendis when he originally told me that. That would have been better.
Hey, Kickstarter. Get him to draw like your splash page or something.
Yeah.
Make him a stretch goal. I mean, seriously, the artists and the people that right now you could have like 20 awesome stretch goals for that thing. Yeah, Think about it, because I know you. I'll keep begging you. I'll keep bringing this up.
Thank you. No, it's a good point. It's a good point. And there we go. More WCW. Yeah.
Oh man, the classic Vader helmet.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was buying Marvel comics at this time. I don't remember this one.
The same way one forgets going to Vietnam, you forgot the WCW comic.
Yeah.
So help me out. Did he wrestle on that helmet?
No.
That was the intro.
He would wear it to the ring. He would put it down, and it was gimmicked to where he could take it off, and it would launch clouds of steam out of the shoulder pads while it was just sitting there on the floor by itself. And he had like this choreographed hand wave that he would do over it, so it looked like he was doing it magically or like telepathically. It was one of those legit cool things I've seen in wrestling.
Nice.
So if we're gonna talk about wrestling comics, you know who had a crazy wrestling comic? Like legendarily crazy wrestling comic.
I can't talk about it. Guess Mick Foley,
the Ultimate Warrior. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Did he write it too?
Yes. That's what makes it special. Oh. He legit wrote it.
Yeah. Well, that would.
Oh, the one where he beats up Santa Claus, ties him up, and strips him naked except for a leather thong.
Oh my!
Whoa. And everyone opens up with a this is a deep expression of the Warrior's philosophy.
Okay.
I'm like, this may be the only words in this book I actually believe.
That's I can actually find that image online, and I don't want to share it.
Don't please.
Yeah, it's. So what was up with that guy? What was going on there? Was that just mental illness, or what was up with that?
He was absolutely fucking nuts, and then he added steroids.
Okay, that's a bad combination.
Mm-hmm.
And oh god, and then here we go. Let's complete the toxic stew. Let's just throw in not enough people who ever said no to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's just, I mean, he had every ingredient to turn out. Well, I tell you though, I found one of the most immensely satisfying videos ever. Somebody posted a video of when Warrior, back when he was under his original name, Jim Hellwig, wrestling as one of the Blade Runners. They had made their overly muscled debut in the old Memphis territory. Mm-hmm. And they're doing an interview with the legendary announced team of Lance Russell and Dave Brown, and they're just having to carry these two goofs. They are greener than grass. They could barely give you their phone number. They're just cutting this terrible promo, trying to start a fight with this local Memphis area wrestler named Phil Hickerson. Now, I always liked Phil Hickerson because right now I am about the age that Phil Hickerson was, and I am probably in slightly better physical condition than Phil Hickerson was at the time. Mm-hmm. Now, that does not change the fact that Phil Hickerson would mop up the floor with me. I mean, it doesn't matter that he's fat and out of shape. He could destroy me. Okay, well, let me put that out there. So Phil comes out to give the answer promo to it. And Phil he's been doing this for 30 years. And just the way that he verbally destroys Jim Hellwig, despite the fact that he's the size of one of Hellwig's legs.
Yeah.
Seeing the fat old guy clearly winning the day. I just really point of pride for all us fat old guys.
Yeah. Well, Ultimate Warrior is such a character that really should have had a successful comic book run because it's a character. It really is, but I don't know if it ever did. I don't know how well this did.
Not great. It was. How many issues do you remember, Chris?
Technically, it did okay because there was a point in the 90s where Vince and WWF were getting destroyed by WCW, and they were teetering on the brink of bankruptcy for a while. And Vince's plan to get them back on top was to get, after Warrior had no-showed and been a complete pain in the ass during his previous run, Vince offered him the farm to come back and wrestle, just to have somebody the fans might tune in to see. And apparently Ultimate Warrior got upset at one ridiculously trivial thing after another. And part of the peace offering was WWE had to buy something like 100,000 copies of his comic.
Oh.
To make him happy.
Yeah, so it sold well. Okay.
Yeah. Well, he moved at least 100,000 of those babies,
right.
and yeah. So yeah, again, not enough people who said no to him.
Well, the Undertaker's another one that's really a character, a fantasy character. I don't know whether they were able to actually make something out of that. Wasn't one of the vampire characters was actually a fantasy character back in the day when
Gangrel.
Right.
Gangrel.
Right.
Oh yes, well, and you may remember that WWE used that intellectual property of White Wolf without asking permission, and that wound up in court for a good long while. Mm-hmm. I don't know what the outcome was, but White Wolf was less than happy about their intellectual property being appropriated by Vince.
Of course, sure. Now they had that down. Gangrel actually had a great entrance and a great image, and yet I don't remember him actually having great matches. It is.
Destructicity.
I don't know that one.
That's his personal philosophy. And the thing is,
I wonder if the word comic makes more sense in German.
I don't know. Seeing it in German, it's like it would cross the line from being ridiculous to creepy. You know, it just you do anything in German and it gets scarier.
Maybe read it over a Rammstein backbeat. That could, I'm kind of liking that idea now.
God,
thank you, Norbert. That was good to know.
Yeah. Oh Lord, we have the best audience. We have the audiences who know this disturbing stuff even more than we do. So God bless you all. White Wolf won. Good. I had a lot of good friends at White Wolf. I cannot say the same thing for Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the situation with Galaxy's Edge and Star Wars. We talked to some military science fiction writers, and some of them have a very successful series in that niche of publishing called Galaxy's Edge. And Disney didn't do an intellectual property search or trademark search before they named Star Wars Land Galaxy's Edge. So all the official merchandise for Star Wars Land has to say Star Wars trademark Galaxy's Edge, because the actual name is owned by somebody else. So anyway, irrelevant tangent. So Undertaker, we were talking the other night about how there's like an intersection, like we're talking about, between fantasy personas and wrestling. It seems like some of these guys, like the Undertaker, who had his own comic for a while, here looking like, looked like Doctor Strange in this particular cover, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you say, it seems like he really should have had a successful comic. It seems like one of those weird niche things that like kind of occupies a space that really should be a lot more successful than it is.
You know, it's the same problem, like I said, with rock and roll comics. Let's say you've got the Undertaker. Now the question is this: are you going to do a comic book that focuses on his wrestling as the Undertaker, or are you creating a character that has adventures as a supernatural character? And those are two different roads you could go down. You might try to have them intersect. But I think with characters like that, you have to develop their fictional side even more personally. But like I said, then you got to have them. You have to give them an excuse to wrestle too, because people who buy the comic are going to want to see some of that. And I think it's balancing those two elements that can be challenging. Well, does that sound like it makes any sense to you guys, or do you know where I'm coming from?
Yeah. I can think of.
Yeah. Sorry. Remember they had to put it on air. Oh yes. Which is why WCW tried to get him over for years as Hollywood Hogan, because every time somebody would slip and call him Hulk Hogan on the air, they'd have to write Toy Biz a check.
Well, that's right, and that's why they were calling him the Incredible Hulk Hogan, but that's the Incredible Hulk. I mean, you know, that was part of the whole thing. The Incredible was part of the green-skinned Hulk. But Hogan was using that. He was Incredible Hulk Hogan for a while.
Maybe you guys remember this. Wasn't there, you said Rockstar Comics, wasn't there an issue where it had Kiss meeting up with the X-Men?
If not, it seems like somebody should have done that at some point.
Well, that's another group where, again, you've got superhero-like abilities there.
Well, I mean, geez, I mean, look how much of their formula Gene Simmons openly says he got from Marvel Comics.
Right.
Everything, you know.
Yeah, he knew him too. He knew Kirby. He knew Thor. But you know, the horror ones are the same. Alice Cooper. You've got what is it? Rob Zombie. You can develop those horror themes with characters like that. Here we
go. Kiss and the X-Men. Yes. Yeah,
the only good thing I've heard about rock and roll comics, Neil Gaiman wrote a Alice Cooper comic.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And even that, as an Alice Cooper fan, even that was about as good as it could have been, because he did develop the Alice Cooper character as a character. and it worked with one of his concept albums called The Last Temptation.
Yeah, I remember that.
I thought it worked pretty well. It was a 3-issue graphic novel. It was about as good as it gets, because Neil Gaiman even said in the introduction, "Why do rock and roll comic books have to be shit?" You know, and he was trying to make a good one. But it's hard, because now you're taking somebody out of their usual domain and trying to develop another part of them.
I have an Alice Cooper connection.
Okay.
I don't know how I would describe her to me, but my wife's uncle, his wife was a backup singer in the late 80s for Alice Cooper.
Very
that's
cool.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. She now is a nurse and a holy roller. God bless her. Sweet woman. But yeah, well, you'd be surprised how often that happens, Tom. People, big one way, later in life, big another.
Yep. And interesting that she was a nurse, because Alice will always have a demented nurse in his stage show. I don't know,
She referenced that one time and said it wasn't that big of a change going from, being the nurse for Alice to,
yeah.
being an actual nurse. But she had the best nurse story I've ever heard, in terms of, like, you can share it with polite company and it's funny. Still an attractive woman. She's working at a general practitioner's office, and one day, some guy comes in for his yearly physical, needs to get his blood pressure. Says, 1 second. Takes his shirt off, flexes as hard as he can, just so the t-shirt doesn't get in the way.
Of course. Nice.
So, guys, you want to wrap it up and try again in 2 weeks? What do you think?
Since I don't have an Alice Cooper story, yes, I'm going to retreat and lick my wounds. And
you don't have to top me. It's fine. It's,
try to call Alice, so I can have a.
Yeah. Hey guys, I got a great idea.
What's that?
How about next time if we do Silver Age, our favorite artists?
Yes.
No, that's got to be that's got to be the vanishing show that never happens.
All right, I'm going with whoever drew that Superman Antonio Rocca cover. There we go. I'm done. Yeah. There you go. There you go. I've done my part.
You've done. Yeah, that looked like Kurt Swan.
Oh, I hope. I love Kurt Swan.
Well, I am sorry we did not get Cynthia on tonight. Hopefully next time. Thanks to everybody for checking us out. And any closing thoughts, Tom, Chris?
Well, all that's been on my mind for the last 6 months is yes, please, follow this, share this, tell your friends, yell it out your window, yell it through the loudspeaker that's attached to your old Mount Prospect police car. Write this on the side of buses. Vandalize your least favorite public monument with this here URL, because I'm coming off a year where a nameless company took one of my stories, said they didn't like it, paid somebody to change half of it, and gave somebody else cover credit for it, while I got butkus. Yeah. If we want writing to survive, if we want writers to have a home, projects like this have to succeed. I don't care if I gross $1 on that. I want Mike to make a fortune though, but myself, I don't care if I make a dime. I have to believe that there's a place where writers can write still. So please, if you believe in the creative process, if you believe that it's wrong to treat writers like dirt, please support this project. And there you go. It's volume 1. I truly would want to buy this book. It's an honor I get to publish it. So please make this one, and hopefully a bunch more happen. And again, I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for the craft of writing and 29 fabulous writers, all of whom will not let you down, will entertain you magnificently. And please give me the honor of introducing you to 2 or 3 new ones. There's some really super new good people working on this. So please back my project.
Nice. That's a noble cause.
Thank you.
I'm with you. And like Harlan Ellison would say, pay the writer, and respect.
Well, the last time an editor treated Harlan like I've been treated in the last 4 years, Harlan put a karate hold that he learned personally from Bruce Lee on them.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah. And it's probably good that COVID has kept me away from this individual, because I've watched too much wrestling and too many Bruce Lee movies not to get some bad inspirations there. And Harlan had a lot better lawyers than I did. So yeah. Okay. But back to my project, soothe my rage.
Hey, Mike, I've got something I'll end with you, because it just reminded me of it. I'm out one day in Jamestown, New York, 15 years ago, having a good time, drinking, a regular night out. And somebody comes up to me in Jamestown and says, "Are you Tom Filsinger?" And I said, "Oh, who wants to know?" But he said, "You know what?" He said, "I played your game, Champions of the Galaxy." I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." This guy was wild. You know what he says to me? Right in the middle. Now, we're talking about a nice restaurant in Jamestown, New York, right downtown, pretty high end, that they would move the tables aside to make a dance floor later in the night. So anyway, he says to me, "So I played your game." I said, "Thank you. That's great." And he said, "Body slam me." No, this is a wood floor. And I said, "I'm not going to be able to, you're a big guy. I hope you know how to kind of jump into it, because you know how that works, right?" And he was like, no. He was totally hardcore. He wanted to be slammed by Tom Filsinger. And he did. We did it. Whoop, boom. And suddenly everybody in the place is looking like, what the hell's going on here? And he pops right up, shakes my hand, and says, "Thanks."
That might be the best game publisher story I've ever heard, Tom.
Okay, there's between me and Tom's lives. Okay, he gets that. Okay, closest thing I've ever had happen. I'm at the train station in Indianapolis, 6 in the morning. It's the Monday morning after Gen Con. I'm sitting there just reading a book. Fan comes up to me and says, "Hey, you're one of the guys that makes Mutants and Masterminds, aren't you?" And I said, "Well, I used to be." And they're like, "Oh, that's great. I'm a big fan of yours." He puts out his hand he's going, "I've always wanted to meet you, John Lighthouser." And John, if you're listening, that's for you, man.
Yeah, right.
That's for you, man.
I hope John is doing okay.
It was halfway there. It was good.
Yes. But
call me Bruce.
Exactly.
Well, this was a lot of fun. Let's do it again in a couple of weeks. We'll talk about Silver Age artists.
Yes.
And all right, so everyone, thanks for checking us out. Tom, Chris, always a pleasure. Cynthia, hope to have you next time. And we will see you all again on the next BAMF podcast.